What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. But before we get into the demo, we've got a lot of news to go over. I have a ton of Chrome tabs today. Welcome in for another episode of Coach Lau. Today, the video is going to be about torzsi. And the reason is, I know you guys are like, why didn't you make the video on Almanac? I was waiting for Almanac. You did Twitter post, Almanac won. Of course, Almanac won, dude. He made it to the grand finals of the last LAN. He's the most underrated player of all time. He's the guy we did a demo on 8 to 10 months ago. Of course we wanted to do a demo on Almanac. And it's coming. Relax. We do demos all the time. Another day, another what? We do demos all the time. But what we don't do all the time is demos on players we haven't done demos on before. True? So we're going to do torzsi first. But before we do that, let's just get into the news for those of you who... I know there's actually a fair few people who watch these videos that don't watch CSGO anymore. And I love that because I realize that I've been watching a lot of Gotham chess videos and some other chess content creators and listening and watching the chess analysis, and I don't even play anymore. And I realize, like, I'm just doing that in CSGO. And I think that's all right. So for those of you who don't maybe follow as much anymore, who are getting back into it, come here for the news. I got all the Chrome tabs. I'm getting a new computer with 32 gigs RAM just so I can open more Chrome tabs so we can go over the news every day. That's the sacrifice I'm willing to make. First thing that we didn't bring up last time that we were supposed to. Complexity signed Peacemaker. He's got his hand in every pocket, Mr. Peacemaker. This guy has been okay, the meme is that Peacemaker has coached every single team. His goal is to coach every team in history, right? He's coached more teams than any other coach in CSGO, period. And not only has he coached more teams than any other coach in CSGO, he's coached more big orgs, actually, than most other people in the game, as well as even going all the way to China to coach Tai Lu, okay? Which was only possible for this period of time. This was probably one of the funniest, weirdest things that's ever happened. No, this was when it got really funny, right? Because he had coached that Tempo Storm, Liquid, OG, Misfits, and then went to China to coach Tai Lu. And the only reason this was possible was because they had Bentet on the team. Okay? And if Bentet wasn't on the team, there would be no way for him to coach the roster. And this, oh my God, Scrawny was casting this. Cyber Power, Extreme Gaming. Oh, this is a North American event. Okay. He is in there somewhere. But the only way this is possible was because he was coaching with Bentet as the IGL, who could speak like 3 or 4 languages, including Chinese and English, so that he could translate what Peacemaker said. And there was a period where Bentet left Tai Lu and left China and left Peacemaker in China with Tai Lu. And as far as we know, nobody else there could speak English. That was peak comedy. That was like the funniest part about his whole journey. But since then, he's gone on to coach Heroic. This is the old Heroic lineup all the way through to this point in 2019. And then he actually was the coach for Mad Lions as they were able to pick up Flashpoint Season 1. You know, that's a huge win. And I've heard, you know, memes aside from a player like coldzera, they said that he is actually a good coach. And the main criticism behind him, this is what I've heard, is that he flies off the handle a little bit too much. You know, too much passion or whatever. And doesn't really know how to frame criticism as much as he knows what to say. So I've actually heard he's actually good at understanding what will help you win in a game. But when things go wrong, it seems like emotionally he has trouble. But yell at Blame F and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there's maybe this could work, you know, memes aside. You know, it'd be so funny to have this picture and then just Photoshop like every logo in the top 20 on top of it. Because he's been around the block. But hey, that could only make you better at coaching, I guess, as long as you don't lose the confidence or something. but he's here to replace Kita. So we'll have to pay attention to see what happens to Complexity. And the great mystery of Complexity is that they seem to have a very good composition, but they have very bad results. And they seem to have a strong, high fragging IGL, overall enough talent, etc., and whatever, but they made a couple roster moves. So it's just one of those weird situations where if you ask the team, they can't tell you exactly what's going wrong. They're like, just don't get it. We don't have an identity right now, is what Config said to me. We just don't know when we walk into a game if we're gonna lose. The confidence has started to slip or whatever. They update Boomish's HLTV photo. He's looking sharp. Okay. But Complexity need to be top 10. They need to be top 10. To me, too many things don't make sense about them being in this high up, especially with they got Esatag in and etc. Okay, so that's it for that. The next, Xantares is listed a big transfer, and this was preceding news that Xantares would leave Big. So this is kind of crazy. And what you would think, everybody felt like, well, not everybody felt like, but one of the thoughts were that if Big were going to make a roster move, maybe it would be Xantares, even though he wasn't a problem of the team. And then maybe they would move to, a completely German team so that everyone could speak fluently and the culture and all of that stuff or whatever. But of course, Xantares, in terms of his impact and what he provides to the team, there's no question that, there were a lot of spots where Xantares is pretty much the only good thing about Big. That sometimes he was a player and the reason why they were able to win some of their big matches. And look at this. I mean, we looked at his rating versus top 5 opponents out of last year. He's raised this, I think, about 4 points. And I think he's only kind of improved. But, this wasn't actually the reason that he left. So the reason that he left was, of course, to let Gade know. It was to create a Turkish roster. And he said that his goal was to be top 1. Maybe he said he felt like he couldn't be able to achieve that on Big. And maybe this offer came out from the side, say, to be like, hey, what if he made a Turkish roster? So he will join forces with Calix. Woxic will be on the team. This whole roster is actually pretty sick. I mean, we've seen this happen where, let's say, a player like Jacob goes back to, where is he from? Norway, to play on the team known as, Jacob, Apex, thank you. He went to play on Apex, and you think when he went to make that move, no one really thought that Apex was going to become, yes, he was statistically actually one of the players carrying 100 Thieves, formerly Renegades at some point, and was one of the players actually who was very underrated, making like a huge impact in their deep runs. But, he's not going to take, he wasn't going to take some new Norwegian team to a major and then win the major or something like that, right? I think that was a bit far-fetched. It's not to say he wasn't a great player, but there is a difference between that level and you know what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say anything disparaging about players, but and Xantares, though, of course, he's pretty much, he is a step above. He's improved a lot. His team touched top 1 last year. He's got tons of experience under really great IGL in Tabsin. He's probably learned a ton about CS, and before that, he had tons of space on his team and was the super carry and had the most ridiculous highlights of all time. So Calix is another one as well. They've got they got a really good core here between Calix, Xantares, and Woxic. And if they're motivated and together, I think they can really, I think they can really do damage. And there's something that makes me very happy about the idea that a player is going, like a very strong player is leaving a team to strengthen another scene. I love that. Because this can influence other Turkish teams. This could influence Turkish talents to join this team that we might not be able to see, that we would never see results from. So there's a lot of good things that can come of this. Okay. I just thought this is so funny, so let's play it.
Hey, ich bin Niklas und ich bin der neue Spieler von Big. Ich freue mich, von Big zu sein und ganz besonders auf die einmalige Unterstützung von euch Fans. Go Big.
It just reminded me of John Cena speaking Mandarin. I thought it was so fun. I was like, have you ever seen Gade and John Cena in the same room? Like, it's actually so funny to hear that. He said no one expected it at all. So who is Gade? Gade is the player who used to play on North. And I said this before, we don't want to hold players accountable for their time on North. Okay, if you played on North, you get a bye. Okay, we can forget that it ever happened. Valde, Kirby, if you ever want to retire, MSL, and all the time you spent on North, we can forget about it. Or we'll give you a second chance at a solid team, and we can see what happens from there. So this will be Gade's. This is a big chance for Gade. Okay, this is a player who could easily fall through the cracks. It's kind of like how Esatag joined Astralis and then they won Pro League, and we only get to know about Esatag as a good player who's getting offers now, who's on Complexity now, because of his opportunity to play on Astralis, right? But could have very easily fallen through the cracks. Now, I don't think Gade is as good as Esatag. I also don't think Gade is even as good as Xantares. But I don't think that Big necessarily need the versatility. I don't think Big need the IGLing experience that Gade has. I think Big need another player who is a good site anchor, who is a solid entry fragger, who has great aim. And from those metrics, of course, Gade fits kind of perfectly. He's like, when you watch him play, he's like the mechanical god. He's not the most cerebral, most talented all-around player who was getting let down by his team. I really don't think that. And I think Xantares has, in similar ways, shown that he has those level of mechanics, but also has put it down, entering versus the best teams in the world, consistently showing up in some of the big games for Big. And I don't think Gade has done that. So to me, this is a lateral move or worse. But at the same time, Gade had to play on North. So this might be cool to see what happens. And it's clear that Big gave this the right kind of thought, because it's so much better than trying to smash a strong player into an already strong team and mess up all the roles just to add more firepower. At least Big didn't do that. They thought about this composition first and then tried to pick up a player that can fit in, because sometimes a change of scenery can change the player. That's what we learned with Esatag. So I'm willing to give it a chance, though my expectations are honestly not that high. Okay, speaking of expectations not being that... No, I'm just kidding. This is also pretty spicy. Alex and Mezzi are joining Fnatic, okay? Potentially. This is a report by Nell. And the thought is that it'll be Crims, Brolin, Jaquinho, minus JW, minus Golden, and then plus Alex and plus Mezzi. And I think it's clear. You can go look at the stats for yourself, all right? Golden and JW were liabilities for the team. Jaquinho is doing a fantastic job as an opper. They don't need JW to op, and JW's stats have been, I hate to say it like this, piss low. Golden as well. It's just, and I think Golden is someone I want to see get another chance for a similar reason to Gade, I guess, where I've heard that Golden is a great IGL, but when you've watched Fnatic play, you really don't see all the work that he's put in. You know what I mean? The team never really looked like they were insanely tactical, or that their off-meta style was really well thought through or anything like that. But maybe it was just the environment that they were in. So they get Alex in, and Alex was obviously the former IGL to Cloud9 during their insane, crash and burn run in the end of 2020 into 2021. This core is fantastic. Crims, Brolin, and Jaquinho, I completely believe in. And I think if you keep these three players, you could actually attract kind of any talent you need to. Pulling in Alex and Mezzi, it's also actually kind of interesting because, actually as an individual, Alex has shown that he can be one of the smartest players individually, even outside of just being a caller. I actually have more doubts about him as an IGL than I do about him as an individual player. And I'll get to that in a second. And then there's Mezzi, who, honestly, Mezzi has been cleaning up recently, and I really think that Mezzi's time on Cloud9 has taught him a lot. I think it was probably, provided him a few important lessons, and I think coming into Cloud9, we had high hopes for Mezzi just because he was... He seemed to be a kid with a good head on his shoulders, a lot of talent, and really good reviews. I mean, if this guy was a restaurant, he would be, 5 stars on Uber Eats, I think, because the amount of people that have said good things about Mezzi I would have to take off my shoes to count them. You know, everybody has something good to say about Messi. So I'm looking forward, and we're obviously talking about a player who is 22 years old. He's played on a big team, but he's not actually got the time, like the chance to show really strong results. And Cloud9 was such a rushed thing that didn't get a lot of time to flourish. That, of course, you know, they're constantly changing stuff. And I think they made a couple of bad moves on Cloud9. So I'm not just recusing them of all criticism, but I will say for a player like Messi, I think as they kept shuffling and making weird roster moves and things like that, I think Messi is the first player that would take a backseat as the lowest paid player on the team. The first, you know, his first big chance at a real team. So I'm super hyped actually for Messi on Fnatic. Alex, on the other hand, I am excited to see what happens, but I am doubtful because I would say that I had high hopes for him into Cloud9, and I think that he did show at a certain point that the team was quite good. But then, towards the end of Cloud9, in my opinion, I feel like there were a lot of questions about his IGLing. I feel like when they were playing, there's one specific thing, okay? It felt like on Cloud9, their strategies devolved into a lot of gimmick plays on CT side, a lot of flashing through smokes, and then I see them do up to, you know, get into a setup, control some space, have a very okay position, and then throw it out the window, try to flash through a smoke. If it doesn't work, flash a second player through a smoke. I saw that happen more than a couple of times. So those rounds stick out a little bit more in my head, but honestly, it felt like things went off the rails from an IGL perspective on Cloud9 as well. That's my take on it. I think he's obviously a smart player, and actually looking forward to more his plays individually than I am as an IGL. But with the new lineup and with a core that already exists, I'm very curious to know if that will help make everyone's lives easier here. So that's all to say about that. Lewis has left at HLTV. This is really sad. He's leaving HLTV. I talked to him briefly. He's looking for a new challenge and has something lined up, which is great. I'm sure he'll talk about that soon. But this makes room for Striker and Prof to actually get promoted. Of course, a lot of people know them from the HLTV Confirmed episodes and stuff like that. But they've both been obviously a part of the scene, a part of HLTV since the ground floor. So it's not totally like weird to think about. I think it's a great thing actually. I'm very excited for this. Everyone from HLTV, pretty much their presence on Twitter as a scene, like they just have immense amount of impact on my daily life as somebody who works in CSGO. So I read a lot of HLTV articles, so I've read a lot of Mira articles. I have talked to Striker, been interviewed by Striker, or been on HLTV or HLTV Confirmed, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, HLTV are just they're the cynosure of CSGO in a lot of ways, and then. So this is very sad anyways. Lewis has been a part of HLTV for, I think, 12 years, as he says here. He's written over 9,000 articles or features or something like that. I haven't even been around long enough to have experienced it. I just know that he's been here the entire time that I have. So this is obviously very sad to see. It's not something we want to see. This is not PogChamp. This is sad. This is sad. I'm very happy. Not very happy about this, but this is great. But yeah, he's, shout out to Mira. Go tweet Mira. Tell him how much you love him. Here we are to watch a torzsi demo. We have it downloaded. Why are we talking about torzsi? Well, even though m0NESY was the talk of the town and m0NESY this, m0NESY this, m0NESY that. I said m0NESY. Oh my god, m0NESY. Even though everybody was talking about m0NESY, these two players are probably the most mentioned players of anyone in the world in my mentions. Okay, on Twitter, like people DMing me, asking me, and torzsi even more so than m0NESY before the We Play Academy League started. Okay, so. I really wanted to watch a torzsi demo, but then, m0NESY's stats were so nuts during the We Play Academy League that he kind of he took the floor and everyone was like, you need to watch this. So I said, okay, we'll just do this hot match. But now I thought, okay, I tweeted out, hey, why don't we watch, well, who should we watch? And some of the ideas were watching a Magic's FPL demo because he just won FPL for the month, which is pretty cool. And it would be a little bit different, right? Because like Team Pug CS or Pro Pug CS. Or watch torzsi or watch acoR's, which won. And I'll get to why I didn't go with acoR's in a second. Or other, and people had a bunch of other suggestions. And the reason I didn't want to do acoR's first was because I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to, since I don't edit these videos and I put them out like, you know, days after each other, to do another CT side Vertigo demo with another AWPer of the same, kind of cut from the same cloth or coming from the same place as torssi was. And, you know, we've got a 19-year-old kid here in torzsi who has been lighting it up. Why don't we compare them side by side? So for those of you who've watched the torssi demo, and that's the last one we watched, we can watch torzsi and compare their CT side Vertigo. And the match that I actually picked was right before the Academy League began. And it was a Vertigo match where he had pretty much astounding stats on both sides of the map, actually. And it was on Budapest 5 at the time. So, or no, sorry, we're going to watch this one versus the Lyngby Vikings, where he went 32 and 18. It was his first match on Mouse NXT. And this is the game here. So look at this, 32 and 18 deaths, 1.60 rating. But look, I mean, his team was actually quite heavy this game. Not to say his team is bad or anything. Like, these guys are actually doing really well altogether. But in this particular match, a 1.60 rating, his teammates, no one had over a 1.0 rating, and he had a 1.60 rating. And you see a stat line like this, and you think, oh, they lost, but he farmed. No, they won this game, 16-13. That is pretty insane. I've seen stuff like this, but it's not often that you'll see a situation where someone has a high rating with none of their teammates doing well and they won. Like, to me, that is impact. Like, that means when we watch these rounds, we are going to see real impact rounds, because it's just usually not possible for this to happen. You know, you average out some of these ratings most of the time. I mean, a team with over, 3 players over 1.0, one having, Christu having a fantastic game here, and torzsi still basically stole this game from them. This is, like, someone's mentioning simple. Even this is rare. This would be rare even for simple. What I'm trying to say is that 4 players under a 1.0 is much different than like a super high rating plus a couple players over 1 and then 1 or 2 really low. Like, that's very different to me. This is unreal. So we'll see how he was able to do this. I've heard he's a very aggressive AWPer, and in this game specifically, he was super strong on both halves, of course, but he had a 17 and 10 T side, which I'm not sure we'll watch. We could watch the whole thing. But we're going to start with the CT side 15 and 8 because I want to compare that to the torssi demo. So why don't we watch that now? One last thing about torzsi. I didn't know this. He was VAC banned. In 2016, which is 5 years ago, which means he would have been 14 years old, he got a VAC ban. And of course, 5 years ago, when you're 14 years old, you're not doing a lot. You're not like, you're not really planning your future out or anything. And you guys know my stance on this, okay? And Valve have updated their rules about the RMR eligibility guidelines. But for players who have got a VAC ban over 5 years ago, or who haven't participated in an RMR, or I think anything related to qualifying towards a major, your ban can expire and you can continue to play. So torzsi's ban will be set to expire November 10th, 2021. And whenever I talk about these VAC bans, the comments just turn to shit. So listen, my stance on it is, if you were young, back then, I'll always tell this story, okay? Because I've got many accounts banned in 1.6 for cheating, okay? Because this is what would happen, all right? I would go to the internet cafe with my friends, and then we'd go to play on the PCs. We'd play like 1.5 or something like that. And then we'd get on the PCs, and then on the desktop, every day we'd go to Internet Cafe. There'd be a new cheat installed on the desktop. Either like would be like a wall hack or an aimbot or Lampbert on. You remember Lampbert? It's where like turned all the bullet fire to white. There would be like wireframe mode, you know, stuff like that. And what we would do, we'd go to the internet cafes. We didn't even play online at the time, but we would go and cheat versus each other. So we'd go onto Ice World, Fi Ice World. We load up a game, private game on Fi Ice World, and what we would do is try to figure out the deepest angle that we could wall bang someone on their way to pushing us to kill them before they could turn the corner. But the other guy was also cheating, so it was really fair. So that really instilled some bad habits in me when it came to what my idea was of cheating. Like everyone in every internet cafe in Toronto was just cheating and installing cheats for other people to use and just cheating. It wasn't a big deal back then. But now, of course, like cheating is like a serious offense, and like you could go to, I think you could probably go to jail in some countries, get your social credit score reduced, or you know, get like beat up by your friends. Or I know it's very serious now. Back then, it wasn't, and you know, years and years ago, I think it was just a different time. It was, and I just have some sympathy for people who have cheated a long time ago. I don't have sympathy for people who cheated for money or cheated. I never cheated on the team or anything. I played like pubs and Warcraft 3 mod and stuff like that, or like be like cheating on like Op India or whatever. Relevant. I don't have sympathy for people who cheated, you know, versus people when there was money on the line and you were like older. I don't have sympathy for Kaylee and shit like that, of course. But yeah, I understand some people don't care. They ban him forever. Burn him at the stake. Say no to cheater. I get it. But I really came from a different time. It just wasn't a big deal then. So anyways, I'm glad he's unbanned, and it's great to have another player like VSM, for example. We're all glad VSM's playing again, right? So I'm happy. I'm sure he regrets it, but I'm glad that, you know, he's able to play out a sentence and potentially be able to stay in CS and be a, you know, brand new person, 21 or 19 years old, and be able to compete at this level. And this guy is a real threat. All right, one of the big things about torzsi that has to be talked about is the fact that he's on MOUZ NXT. Why does that matter? Because acoR's on MOUZ. So there is the question. It's not the question I'm asking, but there is the question. Are any of these players going to eventually play on MOUZ? I didn't ask it. It is a question that exists. And I will say, if you want my opinion, okay, obviously acoR is a fantastic player. But at the same time, I do have some questions. I think acoR has insane mechanics. He's got great movement, which ties into mechanics. He has had really strong games versus strong teams, and so on. But sometimes I watch him play, and I wonder if he could be consistently elite. I feel like he touches it sometimes. I feel like most of the time he's just very good. And I feel like in terms of certain things, like his mechanics and his movement, like it feels like he was born with an op in his hand. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm not sure that he's quite there at a level that meets up with, you know, the fact that they've got ROPS and they've got, you know, they're probably trying to shoot for consistent top 5. So it is a question for me, you know, could he be replaced? It is a thought. And I'm not trying to stir the pot in that regard, but torzsi is somebody who is coming on the MOUZ NXT. He's an opper for the squad. He's shown a lot already, and it's an exciting prospect for the future. And hey, even if it isn't Mao's proper that he ends up getting the offer or the call-up for, I'm sure the offer is going to come in some way. And Mao's honestly have really gone under the radar as an org who have done a fantastic job when it comes to making money, whether it's from transfers or building up talent or whatever it is. And I think, yeah, and I think for that reason, it is cool. It is cool to see that they're even following through and doing that with their junior team, where it even makes more sense to do it with. Where, you know, this is the level at which if you as an org are any good, nice shot, then the best sign that you are good is not by having a simple and then getting great results and scraping by. It's by bringing on players who were not that good and then putting them on your team and then making them good while they're on your team and then, you know, increasing their value and then selling them for a lot of money, or keeping them like you're doing with Rops and then just having a really, really strong player. So here we are to enjoy torzsi and watching him op right after watching... Oh my god, he does the running lineup. He does the running lineup. He does it a little bit differently than I do. But I too do the running lineup. No way. Okay, well, you're gonna hear for a rotation back. He saw the smoke bounce here. There's an opening to get a shot. He misses that. And now there's, yes, okay, I was thinking the smoke comes up. There's obviously a weird situation where someone could have lurked up into heaven on B and then maybe caused problems for the B site guys. And if you got the shot, of course, then it would have at least settled the paranoia a little bit more. But I would have liked to see how you would have moved around after getting that kill. Let's see what happens now. And again, a lot of these rounds, it's a 3-0 start here for Lyngby Vikings. A lot of these rounds are going to be his team dying and then him getting a lot of kills, I'm sure, because, again, he had a 1.60 rating over his teammates who had, like, highest less than a 1.0. So, idea here, of course, is to hold on to a piece of map control. Every time you leave it, you have to make sure you're rotating for the right reason. If you leave a post, then to come back sometimes that means you have to take a shallower angle when you come back just to be saved or whatever. And I think right there is a good example of just knowing when you have a good spot, basically. All right, so we know one player is almost certainly sandbags. Okay, that's now we know he's for sure sandbags. And we'll see if the mistake gets made on the sandbags peak. 2v3 situation. I'll tell you right now, this is a spot at the tier 1 that most teams will almost certainly save, but I think they had a ramp flank, so that's a good reason why you might give it a shot to see if your A ramp flank gets a kill, because if someone comes through on an A ramp flank on a retake and gets a kill, then none of the great spots that make it hard to win a retake in are going to be possible if you got someone walking up the A ramp, which is nice. So then, you know, you give it a shot there, even though it's 2v3. So this next round, already, of course, we see that he's opping a lot more towards middle. And this is a round where he was the only one to save a gun, so people are going to be pistoling around him. You can see, I just want to talk about this off angle really quickly. He's a little bit farther out, but this gives him a better chance to not get pre-fired. So if you're sitting here tight against the box, even if the guy doesn't know you're there, they might shoot a few bullets and they swing out and they'll kill you because you have 7 HP. So he moved a little bit out in case there was the thought that somebody would come and try to pre-fire his position. But after taking these 2 HEs, it's not the most comfortable spot. So you're going to be supporting with a flash here. They're still spread across the map with a lot of map control, being kind of hard to read right now for Mouse. Here he's opting for the boost. And we can see it's coming. That's a beautiful shot and a nice read as well. Sets up perfectly for it. And the full exec. Let's see if Lyngby end up trying to commit. Sorry, I don't know if it's Lyngby or Lyngby or Lyngby or I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm gonna go with Lyngby. Okay, I'm sorry for all the Lyngby fans out there, but if it is, okay. Oh, this game has become very real, but they make a rotation Wow, they actually... Okay, they used to dump a lot of grenades. So I honestly thought that they would commit because they threw a lot of grenades and it doesn't feel like it was going to be a fake, but looks like they just threw their nades and walked back. And I don't know, was that the right idea or are they actually still coming towards B? If they're coming towards B, they have to commit. So this makes sense for torzsi to hold this. But it feels like surely they're not, right? Okay. Yeah, surely they're like planning on A. Oh, wow, they're just going to maybe lose this round. Let's see if they can pull the retake off. 7 HP again on this round. Oh, it would take a little bit of luck. Let's see if they make the mistake. It's the spot where, you know, you can look for the tiniest boost. Oh my god, 3 kills, 7 HP again after getting double naded at the beginning of the round. And I guess they see that the other player who was sandbags rotated over, and he punishes. Wow. Beautiful stuff. Doesn't even bite on the first shoulder peek. He probably could have hit both, honestly. But that is the single reason that they won this round, which kind of epitomizes that 1.60 scoreline that rating that we saw on HLTV. That makes a lot of sense now, right? Now we see a round like that. So that is just sheer impact. Literally from beginning to end, wouldn't have been able to win this round without him. His teammate got one very important kill with the 1 Deeg, though. And history would have been a little bit different if not for that, but still. We've got to sing high praises for the 4K. Wow, a very big risk. torzsi runs out, tries to make this rotation over. A little bit early before the smoke comes down, and they get punished on the rotate in. Let's go on forward to the next round. Deagle round here. See what the idea is. Oof, great aim, of course. I mean, what else did we expect? Came to a demo like this. A couple of nice shots. 3-on-3. So how do you play this? I say, you know, you try to play this a little bit aggressively because you're not going to win a standard retake. But, okay. They died to the guy who planted the bomb on default. We'll go next. So torzsi is a little bit less dynamic than what we saw from Manesi, where I guess the one difference is that, or Monesi, the one difference is that we see that he hasn't actually been spotted on this one angle. So he's come back here a couple of times, but it does feel like Lyngby have tried to specifically avoid the situation. They went for a double nade here. They don't want to peek him in this spot, but it looks like they still have a couple of double nades going on. And we see that he likes to kind of not move a muscle. And I can kind of understand, especially with Lyngby, that they... Lyngby, that they really take their time and they like to fake as well. So he doesn't even want to give him any hints that he might be moving out of his mid position. Scoping really early so that it can't be heard on his way into the site. And kind of back to this post where he feels like the pressure is going to come. All right, so we're going to try to deny a push. This is 2 ops in this position. It's not an ideal spot for the CTs to be in. Also, that was an op supporting an op with the op at mid as well. Oof. Outdueled by Kristu over the smoke, holding outside the site. They somehow still win that retake. And they survive with the 2 ops. Oh my god. It's always got to be a disco gun. At least once a demo. Pay it no mind. Finally, they approach him. They throw a great flash with the jump spot, and there's really no way for him to hit that shot. But he just comes back for it. Okay, let's see how he plays aggressively. I heard he was aggressive, but we haven't really seen it that much. Not on the CT side, at least. Again, we'll look for a big second half. I'm actually quite curious about the second half now. And this half is already 15 and 8 on the CT side. So significant impact. All right, Now, what I'm most curious about is what does he do next round? Because in terms of conditioning, they're not going to want to fight. They've done so much to try to get him out of mid in that position. So now that he's fought him at mid and he's won these 2 duels and they flashed him and etc. Oh no, he's going to have to drop the op, I think. Oh my god. He has to die. Okay. This can't go on for the whole demo. Okay. Stay focused. All right, so this is what I was looking for. You know, is he going to go back to mid? Because obviously going back to mid, you know, wouldn't make a lot of sense when you know they're probably pretty scared of you. They went through a lot to try to get you off that angle. But of course, there's always the idea that, okay, a smart player is going to go somewhere else. I can go back to mid and we can, you know, try it again. But at the same time, you don't want to look stupid, right? So torzsi goes towards A this time, trying to control a ramp. I call this spot Henny. I think he plays it the very best. It's a very powerful angle. It's a committal angle because you can't just leave. In this spot, you can leave, but you don't have like a deeper flat angle down to the A ramp. And what another... Oh, wow. Christu somehow... I mean, maybe he was sneaking over in the corner and just sat there for the whole time, but he's been the kryptonite for torzsi in this game. He grabs that frag. It's a very powerful position to be in, and the other reason why it's powerful is because you can use that entire yellow tarp to block flashes when people are throwing their nades up the A ramp. So it's very easy to dodge from. You can shoot on both sides. You can wall bang it because it's paper thin. So it has a lot of utility. Maybe they'll convert another eco. I'm actually not that interested in this round, so why don't we go ahead and look at another op round and see what he does differently. And yeah, it seems like he was just looking for contact basically at mid when he found it. Now the game plan starts to expand a bit, and he's looking other places for picks. You can see he's being very careful not to double scope just to make sure that he maintains as much vision as possible. And basically, you know, most good operators are not double scoping like almost ever. I find myself double scoping all the time, but it's a really bad idea in general because if you're good, you're just going to hit your shot if it's on the screen, and you lose a lot of vision sometimes in these positions when you double scope. So you saw he only did it when he needed to. He took a dink for it, but he got the kill. He made sure no one could crawl up through that smoke and jump up under his crosshairs. We notice one tendency with torzsi, he likes to wait for the next rotation. Instead of rotating out and looking for the next kill right away, he's like, I'm going to see if they try to reaggress. And again, some of this stuff can come down to tendencies. If you know other teams like to say, oh, we like to disrespect the information you got. We like to disrespect the conditioning that you earned. Let's go back to the same spot. Then, you know, torzsi's going to be the man to punish you. But some other teams, and if you watch other players, like we were watching... Simple the other day, no one rotates as much as he does, so he's going to be in a number of spots in a round. But you can see here he definitely does have a good feeling for what could happen in this round. And the other idea is that sometimes you don't need to rotate because your teammates have the other spots. There's no actual reason for you to move. So as long as he's correct about it, it makes sense. A great shot. Christu comes out. He's been the kryptonite for torzsi. What a flick, man. That wouldn't have killed, I don't think, without a headshot in that spot. So he prey-G'd for that one. That's pretty ridiculous. It is cool. Isn't it cool to see two different styles, though? Because I think we can see that there is, like, very obviously something different here between what we saw last time, what we're seeing in this demo. We're seeing why they're effective for two different reasons. We also need even more context for some of these players because we need to know how they play on other maps, how they play versus the same team on two different maps, how they play versus other teams on the same map. All these things are relevant. That round's over. Decapitation for his opponent. torzsi chilling in mid. Oh, okay. I think another... I don't know if that was an eco round, but everyone got melted down. So let's move on to the last round. I think we will watch this T side because I am quite curious, actually. Okay, we go for the chaos drop. It doesn't work. Christu kills him again. He's there first. Wow, Christu's actually smoking fools. This Christu was the guy who got his chance on North, and then North dissolved like right before it ended. So maybe give Christu another chance. Let's go ahead and take a look at the T side. 17 kills on the T side, even better than his first half. And we saw the impact on the CT side. Always impressive to see a plus performance on T side. And maybe what we can do tomorrow or the next demo is to watch another Omanek T side Vertigo game and then watch that and compare it to this, even though he's opping. Oh, actually, they both would be. Oh, that might be interesting, actually. Yeah, that's a thought. Maybe we do that. I think it would be good. So let's watch this. No chance on this round as well. And again, this is a game that Maus won 16-13. I do enjoy watching Vertigo, especially since the meta is less post-plant spams. I still think the map needs major work. I mean, they haven't even painted the walls, right? I really think it would be the funniest thing and also the best thing that's ever happened to just see them finish Vertigo. Like, just actually, like, from an artistic point of view, finish the map. I think that would actually, honestly, fix a lot of things about the map, because some of the weird construction areas create for some of the strangest angles, weirdest fights that you'll ever see on any map. So Maus want to go mid with 4. Okay, let's see how this works out. And we've got torzsi out on the T side with an op, and also as the entry. Also something interesting to see. And listen, for some of these younger players, it's much harder to find good T side players than it is good CT side players. From my perspective, that's where almost everything falls apart when you look at some of the more inexperienced players. They struggle to scale with good teams and know how to find that balance basically between being passive and being aggressive. And that's why I talked up Flames quite a lot. So I talked up Frozen quite a lot a couple of years ago. And it looks like torzsi is just one of those players that you cannot punish with a reaggression. And I guess, of course, from all his time in the tier 3 and tier 2, he's used to seeing a smoke push. Okay, in his day, he's seen a smoke push or two. He's seen a smoke reaggression. This one will be on his teammates. Ooh, and they've got something to offer. Okay, let's see. Quick entrance into B. This is a generator smoke that he's throws. They throw a counter smoke, but it's not good. And yeah, he can actually flank this very easily. Oh, this creates a great window for his team to try to get in. Fortunately, he has to reload, so he can't hold on to that position. Might have gone quad if he didn't need to do that, but he still comes back and gets a kill. Okay. Oh, this is where leadership can matter a lot, but 2 entry. I was thinking they might walk back, and as long as, I think what would have happened there, if torzsi didn't see anybody pushing up for the reaggression, then they would have fallen back together. But then he gets the other kill, and this is a smart move from Maus, just waiting to see if, you know, if they do go and look for some info. It's pretty much the best way to play that. Really like that from Maus, and obviously a fantastic round from torzsi there on the AK as well. And it looks like we're not even seeing his op come into play in this half, so even more impressive to show off a little bit of his versatility. I mean, really, not even a great opera should just only be great with an op, because no matter how, I mean, I don't want to say no matter how good you are, but like, unless you're Astralis level dominant, your opera is not just going to be able to buy an op every round. That's just not how that is ever going to go. So we talked about this in the Monesi demo, where we talked about finding gaps. And of course, every little detail, if someone throws a bad smoke, or if you can see over top of something or around something, how you should try to take advantage of that for, you know, because every small possible advantage, it's the only way you're going to separate yourself versus all of these teams that are clambering over each other to try to get into the top 20. There's a flash you can throw for your teammates who are running in. That pops, you know, blinds people on the site without blinding your teammates. And it's very effective, as we see. So there it is. The whole B setup was compromised with the light utility that used to come into it. I really like the idea behind this. Too much utility that takes time to throw and set up can sometimes be counterproductive if you're going up against deagles and CTs that are willing to rotate a lot. So sometimes it's better to go with light executes or rely on a single god flash, or to rely on one smoke for a key position or a crossfire and a flash to pair with it, as opposed to throwing 2 smokes that take 10 seconds to land, plus a couple of flashes here, and then a second set of flashes. And then by the time you're doing you're done your whole execute, 3 deagle players have rotated over from the A site and pushed through a smoke and like are ready to, you know, show up and screw your day up. Again, a lot of punish sprays here from torzsi. We're showing a different kind of tempo to his gameplay, where he's not quite first in right now, but now he's transitioning into it. Let his teammates do most of the work working up the A ramp. And now the options are wide open. I'm going to skip by this round. Oh, actually, maybe we can see him, you know, turning into the entry pack over on the other side, which is cool to see. This is something that I'm sure we'll also see with Almanac on the T side of Vertigo, when it comes to, you know, how he can have different speeds in a round and do both the lurking and the entry fragging at the same time. Finally, an op in play. Interesting. Eyes right on middle as well. Off of Christu. In the kill matrix, okay, if this was on ESEA, torzsi would be Christu's bitch. In the ESEA kill matrix, I think it's like 10 to 1 or something, the amount of times that Christu's killed him. Which makes you wonder how many kills torzsi would have had if not for Christu, because he already had a fantastic map, but Christu had his number for sure. The amount of times that he has got this frag over him. Exertion is another player that we potentially want to look at in the We Play Academy League, and some of these players from games even before the We Play Academy League, like this one right here. Let's see how Exertion plays this 1v1 as the smoke pops. Okay, small thing here. Sometimes if you're in that 1v1, peek as the smoke pops or peek right before the smoke pops, just because you want to have some kind of point of reference, especially if you don't exactly know what's being smoked. You don't just wait for the smoke to go down, listen for the 4 seconds, and then peek. Sometimes if you do that, you will not have any frame of reference, and the smoke will be blocking an important part of the reference for you in your vision, and you'll miss your spam, and then they'll win the round that way. Sometimes it is good in the 1v1. That's why almost nothing is objective in this game. Oh, that's a huge pick. Of course, that lurk smoke is becoming a very common smoke, but it's still very strong for the CT side. But this is just good awareness from torzsi, and also just a great shot in general. Because I think Christu has an op, so even as he has a small advantage there to peek down the ramp, then you know, he can still win even if there's somebody waiting for him. But that's obviously an insane shot from torzsi. But yeah, sometimes it's better to peek when you hear that smoke pop or right before. In fact, I think the timing you're looking for in the 1v1s is that the single moment. Oh, smoke misses. That's actually gonna make things a little bit weird, but it's fine. There's only one player left. He dies as well at the hands of torzsi, no less. So the timing you're looking for in the one-on-one is the timing where you think that they're going to defuse the bomb. So yeah, okay, let's say they know where you are, and now here's torzsi opping towards that Henny angle that I was talking about. And they trusted that flash. torzsi was willing to eat it, expected it to miss. And that's why sometimes you don't just trust flashes. Let's say, okay, there's a position where Christu would never make that peek without the flash. But with that flash, he feels like he has God mode on, right? But we saw that flash. It didn't even hit. It didn't blind anyone on the ramp. Like, I don't even think torzsi was doing that much work to try to avoid it. So for whatever reason, torzsi knew that flash wasn't going to be great. Maybe he was comfortable thinking I can get out of here if it's not. But that's like the easiest pick ever, right? As soon as that flash misses. So sometimes that's why a lot of teams are throwing empty flashes in certain spots, just to try to see if you hear a footstep or someone jumping away in that kind of specific position. Insane. Okay. That was also pretty nuts. When we see it, he's got that right tempo to play against Lyngby. Like, he's just slow enough. It feels like it's annoying for them. They keep folding to the pressure, and then they always end up peeking the positions that he's holding. And I guess the most annoying part about him is he doesn't leave his angles very often. He'll just sit in his position. I think a few rounds will be lost now. Maybe. I don't know if it's this round or not. But yeah, just on the point of that, on the 1v1 thing. Try to believe in yourself and find the timing where you think someone's going to defuse the bomb. Every time I try to explain this, this guy hits some insane shot. I need this to end because I have to talk just quickly about this 1v1 timing. Great shot by torzsi once again. But I'd just like to say, when you think someone is going to defuse the bomb, that's the timing you're looking for to try to peek them. Because then you know they're not looking at you. Even if they know where you are. You try to think, when are they going to look and defuse the bomb? And not reacting as soon as they tap it. I'm saying trust yourself to find the timing for when you think they're going to tap it. That's it. That's what I was trying to say. This is not the last round. This is a very different style to not only a lot of operas that I watch in general, but you know, to let's say acoR, for example, on Mouse Sports, or a lot of people in general. I mean, this much patience, I guess, but also it feels like this much patience, but at the same time, he's doing a lot of the opening kill work, which is kind of perplexing me. Here he probably shouldn't be the one throwing any nades, but at the same time, sometimes your opera is the one throwing nades because he's not also the one entrying. But there's a spot where they just find a gap running up the ramp. Unfortunately, with some of the vertigo entry B grenades, they come from running up the stairs and throwing them, like the generator smoke, or a lot of the nades are still thrown from the stairs there, which means it's actually very effective from the CT side to peek into the stairs to try to find kills. But that's pretty much where the problem area is for the T's and CT side, which makes this map kind of about gimmicks sometimes, which I don't really love. But anyways, more on that at 6. This is a bit different. I'm actually glad we got some context on torzsi. Didn't know, again, what to expect. I haven't watched the game. Didn't watch any of the We Play Academy League except for a couple of ancient matches, I think, randomly. It was good to catch up and watch these demos. Looking for a boost. Of course, would have been perfect to be scoped there, but they had to just agree on where to line up first. We've seen that lurk smoke out for if they think that someone's holding from the CT side of A to try to obfuscate his vision a little bit so that they can threaten that someone can go towards heaven. We saw that from torzsi's perspective on the CT side in the first half. And again, these flashes are so strong that he's throwing. And basically everyone throws him in this spot. But here's a position where they've got to work into a site versus 3, and they both end up dying. I think one more round here for the CT side. Okay, let's see what they do with this boost. Maybe they're going to do it simultaneously. Oh, that's a beautiful molly spread. Again, sometimes about finding the gaps wherever you can find them. Especially anytime you can look up over a smoke, it's usually pretty effective. I don't know if his teammate throws that. And again, we're just trying to find any gaps if possible, but I just almost held my breath there. I was like, whoa, did he see something? It's one heaven. Yeah, he knows one's heaven. He's got to help his teammates get into the site. This is the God angle. Right after the generator, right back into spawn, you've got to be very careful about crossing as an opper. Especially when you have an op in your hand, because you move slowly enough, they'll just be able to hit you. And oh wow, that's nice. That's nice. That's revenge on Christu, an insane shot, and he is pretty much full blind. So that's a flash that, or sorry, on Manx, and Christu throws that flash. It works well. Can't really ask more of a flash, but his teammates die in the post plant. This one, he's probably tried to just go to save, like push out and save, if anything. You know, you think you go for any round as long as you're in a post plant situation, but in a spot like this, you just don't do it. It just doesn't make any sense. And this is potentially one of the last rounds of the game. He'll have the op to move forward with. Wow, this is an insane speed. You don't normally see people skipping angles like this. And now he's spotting for what could be a player on the A side, as well as the guy rotating off of short shelf, potentially after hearing that fast work up the ramp. And now timing for any rotators. I'm really curious to see if he'll get rewarded for this. But at the same time, so much progress. And we know torzsi, once he gets into these spots, I feel like he's... I think, not to use another chess analogy, it's like a rook controlling a file. That I feel like this is the thing that gels with his mind the most. When he finds an angle that he knows is good, he doesn't want to give up that advantage, and kind of knows when it'll reward him for getting into that position. There's a punish onto Rouse, and now his teammates can plant the bomb. Unfortunately, his teammates don't have fantastic guns to work with, and they also are able to stop the plant. But he does two things with this smoke. He smokes the plant as well as allows his teammate to... Or he smokes the molly as well as allows his teammate to plant. And now he's going to play it very aggressive. Means very hard fallback situation. But maybe his teammate does the work. It's exertion again. Potentially foreshadowing an exertion demo here. Beautiful shot on Christu. And the work is done. That was an interesting game. That was an interesting game. It's not quite the pace that I expected. I heard a lot about how aggressive he was, and he did show that aggressiveness, but it was in a way that I didn't expect. Like he definitely had a lot of entry kills, a lot of opening kills, but he also spent a lot of time, you know, holding position on a place where he thought someone was going to re-aggress into. His aim was obviously really good. Some insane shots, and the only times he got killed were basically by Christu, who basically just like outskilled him on some of these peaks. But in this game, you know, this is insane impact. I mean, what can you say? This is insane impact to be able to pull off this level of rating with teammates who are like having a bad game, like to this degree, and then also win the map. I mean, you know, scorelines like this happen and you lose the map all the time. But to win the map, that just says a whole bunch. And it also says, probably speaks to his team who are able to do some stuff even though they can't, you know, aren't having a great time fragging. But that was a cool one. Yeah, well, that'll be a cool one to compare styles here between this one and Monesi. I hope you enjoyed watching that. And then I think for the next demo, it'll make sense to do Omanek. And if you have any other suggestions, then let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.